And then Nintendo had to up their ante with their Wii controller, which was motion controlling.
I have the MetaQuest 2. You can just use your hands. So we went from a horrible controller that was basically just your hand through 972 buttons to a controller that is just your hands. We've basically evolved all the way back to just using our hands.
Exactly. That's awesome.
Original geek, that's who I am. Rolling 20s with my squad, we got a plan. Marvel heroes on the wall, D&D dice in hand. Original geek, across the land. Level up, never gonna give it up.
Nice.
All right. Well, welcome to Original Geek. This is the podcast for anyone who rolled dice in a basement, waited hours to download comic covers on dial-up, and proudly wore that label of geek back when it was a target and not a trend. We're going to dive deep into what it meant to be a geek in the 70s and 80s and how that compares to this mainstream world we live in today. And who are we? Well, we're two of the Gen X survivors who didn't just watch geek culture evolve. No, we lived through every awkward phase. Hi, I'm Steve Scarfo.
And I'm Jeff Shaw, and we'll be your cheat codes for today's final boss. What's our topic today?
All right. Well, that might have been a little hint. We're talking today about gaming. I know we did a little bit last week when we talked about the internet, but this is more of a deep dive into the history of gaming, the evolution from Pong to PlayStation, arcades to augmented reality. This episode is going to trace the evolution of gaming from the golden age of pixelated glory to the mind-bending worlds of modern VR. It's high scores, low-res graphics, and a whole lot of nostalgia.
Yes.
So
Video gaming. I'm glad we brought it right back. When we talked about the internet, we dabbled in it a little bit, but man, a lot of pleasant memories about gaming, and we're still gaming today. I mean, right? I mean,
yes.
We haven't stopped. We never stopped.
It's a little different. I remember, we started in an arcade for anyone under 30, although I guess they still have arcades. They've evolved quite a bit because now they're like bars. There's Chuck E. Cheese has got Chuck's Arcade now. It's like an adult version of Chuck E. Cheese, which is really what it really was. Chuck E. Cheese was just an arcade for adults so that they had a place to, it was like daycare and a bar at the same time. You kids could go play, and they had beer and wine and stuff you could eat. Petra and I spent not drinking for the record, but for our fair share of time at Chuck E. Cheese. But our arcade was down by the beach because, again, we grew up in Wells. And we had this awesome Wells Beach arcade. And we saw first games like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong.
Well, yeah, but was it arcade that you first played a video game, or was it a console?
I think it must have been in an arcade.
Really?
I remember, well, no, maybe not. So when we were kids before we moved up to Maine, we got one of those old Pong games. I thought where it was just it was like a spinner. I don't know why I'm doing this, but yeah. And it was that
was my entry in 76, I think. They got the Pong game, and it could not be simpler. And then there was a tank game with it.
Yes, the tank was the most advanced.
It was awesome.
It was like a little block tank.
It was so great. I loved it.
Did you guys ever leave yours on too long?
When it's seared into the screen? No.
It's seared into the screen. We did that.
No, we didn't.
I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8. My brother was 10, and we seared the crap out of that TV.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my first recollection of video games was that old console, that Pong, the tank game. And then I'm sure I went to an arcade. Now I didn't move to Wells until I was in high school. So 84. So when you were playing Pac-Man at Wells Beach, it wasn't with this guy, but I do remember, early 80s, I was living on Lopez Island in the Puget Sound in Washington State, There was no arcade, but the restaurant got a Pac-Man game, and it wasn't in your standard cabinet. It was like a sit down,
It
and
was
it
the
was tabletop, yeah. And then I remember, much to my father's dismay, like, because he took us to this restaurant, like, oh, we're all gonna eat together. We saw that, and we were just playing Pac-Man. Yeah, to like, for as much of our allowance as we could pump into that thing, we were just playing that, and that was it. Like that just sucked all of our attention. Pac-Man. So for
Pac-Man
me,
was the
that's like the
best.
big one.
I look at Pac-Man now and I'm like, really? Hours I spent on that game. Hours. But now it's all different, man. Now we, remote gaming, and I got one of those Meta Quest 2 VR headsets, I guess. A couple years ago. I don't use it as much as I thought, but and then there's augmented reality, which is now becoming quickly a thing. Actually, Meta and Ray-Ban have done a deal where you can get glasses that have a camera, and I guess it must be, I don't know if it's Siri, whoever the heck it is, but they have like a VR assistant. So while I'm looking at you, I could ask it a question and it would tell me what's going on. And
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I know.
Crazy.
I know. It's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a golden age of gaming.
Golden age. We love our golden ages.
So, but hey, before we talk about, kind of current state golden age, let's have a flashback. I think
Is
it's
it time?
Let's take a trip through time. It's a Geek flashback.
Whoa. Ooh. All right. And in our flashback, I know we started talking about arcades. Let's talk about those quarter eating beasts in the arcade. Because I said I spent all of my allowance, as much as I could, at the arcade. And you know what? Let's start with let's start with that Wells Beach arcade, because that's something we both had in common. And we went to quite a bit. And the downstairs was all the video games. Upstairs was like skee ball and the games that spit out tickets. But
Yeah.
downstairs, that's where we were. We were at the Street Fighter level, fighting on the streets.
With Mortal Kombat, the first Mortal Kombat, finish him. It was it's funny too, because if you go to an arcade today, even the one Hampton Beach has a pretty big arcade still. Everything in Chuck E. Cheese, everything is ticket based. Even the regular video games aren't just regular video games. You win a ticket to go to the thing, and it's almost like they gamified the gaming, which is really kind of meta. But you play a game to win the tickets, and you win the tickets so you can go get a prize. And they really made it you and I. And God, how many times, I might jump a half a step forward, when we were in high school, we would go to the Fox Run Mall because they had a huge arcade.
Yeah.
Me, you, Jim, Boyd, Bill Ponders, and we would take $30 each in quarters because you had to stack quarters on the machine. Do you remember at the beach, actually in Wells, if you wanted to play Pac-Man, you put a quarter on the screen.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how you knew you were next. You didn't know whose quarter was whose, but everybody just honored the quarter system. If there was a line of quarters, like 7 quarters long, that means you had to wait 7 people before you could get on that Pac-Man game.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason we had multiple arcades in our youth was because we.
Did you just say Ute?
I did, because Wells Beach Arcade was seasonal, so it was just a summertime arcade. So most of the year we were driving 20 miles to the next closest arcade, which was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, or Newington, New Hampshire. And but I loved a lot of my favorite arcade memories were actually in that arcade, because my favorite, one of my favorite cabinet games,
I think I
arcade
know where you're
games,
going.
was Gauntlet. And
I
Gauntlet
forgot about Gauntlet.
came out in 84, 85. And it was the first time 4 of us could play simultaneously. And it was, of course, we were D&D fanatics, and it was a fantasy game. For those who aren't familiar with it, you could be a barbarian, an elf, a wizard, a dwarf. I think initially that's all there was, and then there was Gauntlet 2, which had some more characters, and you could be any one of those things, and you were color coded too. So you could have a red elf or a green elf or a blue elf, and then the game would tell you, which I always loved and still quote to this day, blue elf is dying.
Yeah.
Blue elf needs food. And so like you'd destroy a monster and it would turn into a steak. Or
Yes, that's
like you'd
right.
eat the steak, or you'd blow up
And you'd get health, you get potions.
Yeah, potions and things like that. It was awesome. So 4 of us playing simultaneously, that for me was my favorite arcade game. And Wells Beach Arcade did not have it.
It never
So we
got
could
it.
only play Gauntlet there or other, bigger arcades, but our small Wells Beach Arcade did not carry Gauntlet.
So now I have 2. I had a different one, and I'll do that one first, but now you reminded me of a different game. And that I thought you were going somewhere else. So the game that I loved the most was at the Wells Beach Arcade. The first time I ever saw it was Dragon's Lair. And I loved it because it was only single player, but it was, at the time, it was the better graphics, because really it was a
amazing.
cartoon. It was like you played a cartoon, and it was hard enough because you had to time everything, but it was also sort of simplistic in that they kind of led you to the next step. You didn't have to figure it out. There wasn't running around for hours. Like it would be, he's stuck at the lava. You can go left or right. And then right before he died, it would flash on the right, and you knew you had to go right. And so it was fun because you were sort of playing this thing. And I know we all sort of played and watched each other play. But that was sort of that was where I was going to start with, because I thought that was sort of cool. But the multiple player game in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, that I thought you were going to say was Cyberball.
Yes,
because
Cyberball was amazing.
All the same things that you said about, of course, not the red dwarf dying and stuff, but it was 4 players at once. And it was cool because it was 2-on-2. So you played each other. And it was really some of the very first, both of those games, the first interactive gaming I think I ever saw was those 2 games.
Yeah. So, listeners, Cyberball, and this is, I wish they still had this game. And I know with Madden and, the way things have gone, like you can play a real NFL looking game and players.
Right.
So why would you want these robots to be playing? But I think this would still work. So, game designers, I think you'd find a real market if you came back out with Cyberball, a new version, because it was very original. The ball would explode.
Yes.
After, it wasn't like you just needed 4 downs. You actually had to get it past the 50, and then the ball would get back to safe, and you only had 4 plays. It would go, from safe to critical to exploding
And it
in
would
4
damage
plays.
players.
But you got to pass the 50, then the ball would get safe again until you only had a total of 8 plays to get it down into for a touchdown. And as players, every time your robot got tackled, you'd start to break down and your robot could blow up. So you catch the ball, but you're still like smoking and on fire, and all it would take is 1 hit for your guy to explode, which of course you can do in Madden. You can have like, Randy Moss catches the ball and explodes
And burns up.
Like that would actually, now that I'm saying it, that could be a fun like Mortal Kombat, Cyberball combo.
It's Mortal Madden.
Yes, exactly.
Finish him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fun that way, but yeah. So Cyberball, bring that one back.
Yeah. I mean, there are
Absolutely.
emulators out there. Somebody make an emulation. They can easily do it.
All
right,
right,
for
we
those
got
of you-
Boyd with us.
Yeah,
guys.
if you're watching, the screen's changed a bit. We have talked about Boyd in many episodes. You'll hear from him again after this, one more time at least. Boy, we're talking video games.
And
The original.
Before we get into that, though, I just want to say that in the first episode, I talked about our friend group being like the Breakfast Club, but
Yes.
Boyd was like our Ferris Bueller. And I seem to recall there was even a Save Boyd campaign at one point.
There was.
God. Yeah.
so
It's one of the Stacy Samson, I forget, one of the Samson girls.
Yeah.
So in Boyd was was a ringleader
Big
for us in high school, and we did a lot of things that Boyd did and dragged us on his adventures. In fact, your parents were the most accepting of us throughout high school. We played more D&D at his house than anywhere. In fact, if your parents didn't have us in, I don't know where we wouldn't have been able to play nearly as much or nearly as conveniently. So
big shout out to Marcus and Vicky. They were my second parents for like a decade.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, we played until like 3-4 in the morning at their kitchen table.
I know.
I only ever
Only your
remember
parents
one
would
time.
allow.
There was one time we played at your house. I think it's the house they're still in on Maryland Ridge. It was the newer house, and we were older because we were drinking, and there was only one time your mom actually came out and was like, "Can you guys keep it down?" But like a decade of nothing. She would just they would let us do whatever we wanted.
Was that when Kevin peed out the window onto the porch?
I wasn't going to say that part. It was that time. He thought he was going to the bathroom and he peed out the window.
I went to the room. I went to the living room, which well, it was not a living room. It was like one of the side rooms, but it had a window that went out to the front porch. And Kevin's standing at the window. We're playing D&D. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, using the bathroom. Like, that's a window, dude. You're peeing on my porch. And we still got to play there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. So
I just wanted to introduce our Ferris Bueller of our group to everyone. And he's our historian. His memory,
I don't know about historian.
Your memories are far clearer than ours.
Of the three, at the very minimum, of the three of us, you're the historian.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that might
like
scare
I said,
you,
it's
but
a
it's
trip
true.
down amnesia lane for me often, where I'm just trying to remember what happened.
God.
And your memories are a bit more crisp on this.
Well, yeah, and
in some areas, not so bad.
I'll tell you this: in prepping for this episode, we were just talking before we started recording, and we were talking about some old video game stuff, and you started to bring some stuff up that Jeff and I were completely like, "Holy shit, we forgot." So, we've talked a little bit about the gaming revolution, and we talked about how I had the Commodore 64. I think we talked about it on the Internet episode as well, but that was our first gaming. But what you were telling us, tell us what you started telling us before about how you had it set up.
Well, when I first got a computer, it was a Commodore VIC-20. And the first game that I was able to play, I guess you'd say online, was Telengard. And there was a server out of Boston. And back then you didn't click on a website. You had to phone the number directly because you didn't connect to the internet and then connect to a web page. You called the server and put your phone on it, and it connected directly to their server, which was weird.
It was like war games, right? You had to put your phone on a cradle almost.
Well, you had it plugged in. I had a 14.4 modem, and you had it plugged in. But once once you started hearing that handshake start from the other computer, that's when you had to click something, and it went to the 14.4 modem, and then it just went through. The computer started talking to it.
I say war games like that's going to help any of the younger viewers. If we have any. I used an old reference to reference an old reference. That's awesome. I didn't think that shit through. Yeah, because we were talking about there was a D&D game. I think it was either ColecoVision.
Yeah,
but I had forgotten.
It was in television. It was Advanced
television.
Dungeons and Dragons. It was on in television. I know because the guy this kid that lived down the street, super pothead. I became friends with him, and he had it, and I was trying to get in there to play it all the time. He's like, "Oh, that game's terrible." I'm like, I was just frothing at the mouth to play it. I finally got to play it, And it was awesome. Yeah, it was in television.
I love how he
Advanced
says
Dungeons
he's.
and Dragons.
I love how you say you're not the memory, and yet you pulled in television out of your ass like nobody's business. You're like, oh no, that wasn't Coleco, that was a television.
Wrong.
And I'm like,
I
yep,
didn't say wrong.
No, he's right though. That's exactly what it was. It's just
Yeah.
funny that you deny the memory, but then you have it clearer
Well,
than
that I
everybody.
remember.
Because I remember that game. I thought it was ColecoVision. My cousin had that game, but I forgot that it was on the television.
Yeah, that was a
and the
weird
same thing.
console.
They didn't care about it because they're sports guys and they're awesome with what they do, but they didn't care about D&D. And they showed me one time we were there for like Easter, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing! It's playing D&D on the computer.
Yeah.
But I forgot about Telengard.
Telengard, yeah, that was the TSR back in the day. That was their first foray into video games. So TSR had hooked up with whoever was producing this video game, Telengard, and you could play it online. It was very like you were a blip and you moved to places, but it was like Bard's Tale almost, and you had stats you could level up, but there was no visual. Well, there was like a slight visual of the creature, but it wasn't great. I mean, we're talking, 8-bit.
Yeah, Bard's Tale had the one picture, it was like a static picture of a creature coming at you.
Right.
And then on the side, it would say 85 orcs or whatever.
Yeah, and you had your whole party listed, but I mean, I remember Bard's Tale, that was like, God, I sunk so many days, hours into that one. That was awesome. I knew the maps without having a map. Like, I knew where to teleport on a grid anywhere in that game.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
We talked a little bit about arcade stuff, too, and how we used to go down to the Fox Run Mall all the time.
Yeah, Dream Machine. Well, first it was Newington, then it was Fox Run.
Right. Yeah, was it the Dream Machine?
Dream
was that the name
Machine,
of the
yeah.
arcade?
Yeah. They had one in each one. But and then the new games started going to the Fox Run Mall, so we stopped going to Newington, and they were right next to each other, so it didn't matter. But that's where the fun games were.
Cyberball.
Cyberball.
Yeah. Yeah. And who was the teams? Was it Jeff and someone? And I think I got stuck with Bill every now and then, and he was so stoned, man. I would get so pissed. You guys remember, I'm such a bad player. I get so mad. I'd be like, Bill, what the F are you doing? Berate him there in front of everybody watching us play Cyberball like some kind of asshole.
I don't remember if we had specific teams or if we just sort of switched in and out. It depended on who could go that day.
Well, yeah, but the tournament, remember we played in the tournament? And there, Jeff.
Oh, no, we did.
It was Jeff and Jim were unstoppable in that tournament. They were so good in that tournament.
It was Jim.
Because Jim's a really good video game player anyway, And Bill was pretty good, but Bill was one of those guys that, like, he would throw it just because he could, like he thought it would be funny or something, like throw the game, and I'd be like, Bill, what are you doing? But yeah, Jim and Jeff,
that's right.
I think you won that turn. I can't remember, but there was a prize. Yeah, Jeff and Jim were unstoppable at Cyberball.
Now Jeff doesn't care if your memory is correct. He just likes it.
I love it. That's it. Champion.
But Steve and I played, and I think I was playing with Bill that time because Steve wasn't able to come and play during the tournament with me for some reason. But Steve and I were really good, and we could have matched you, but I got Bill.
We had a substitute.
Yeah.
Nice.
We talked a little bit about Red Wizard is about to die with the old Gauntlet.
Gauntlet. Yep. Gauntlet 2.
How many times did we race to the mall just to get on Gauntlet and stack quarters on the machine?
Jeez. So much. And I can't even remember now what levels we got to, but we'd be there for hours playing that game. And, quarters back then weren't like quarters today, like that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You plowed some money into those games.
I mean, $10 back then. I mean, what's $10 then as compared to now? 30, 40?
Oh, more, I would think. We were making what, $4 an hour maybe in the kitchens?
$3.35.
3 or 4. Yeah. So
$3.35 was minimum.
So $3.35. So you had to work 4 hours to have enough to spend one afternoon at the arcade with $10, and that was spending everything you made.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So think of about it as a half day's pay. That's kind of the money we were putting in.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's crazy,
guess-
isn't it?
Well, the
15
interwebs is saying only $30 today, but still
30. I was going to
$10
say
is
Feels
$30.
feels
Yeah.
like
So for 4 people, you know, that's $120 in what were we there for 2-3 hours?
Oh yeah,
But to your point, $10 would have taken us.
3
Well,
or
I
4
guess
hours.
that's about right. Would have been 2 hours worth of work, and if some
3
places
hours.
you can make $20
No.
today.
3 or well, you were waitering. That was different. When you're working in the kitchens, we were getting $3.50, maybe $4. I think the most I got, and I think this was at the shoe store. This wasn't even the kitchen. I got $4 an. I remember going to $4 an hour and was like, yeah. So it was still 2.5, 3 hours just to play for a day.
Oh, yeah.
That's
It would
That's
be different
crazy.
on waiters made a lot more money. Floor staff made more money than we did. But
I looked into buying one of those Gauntlet games. A friend of mine had one in St. Pete. It was awesome. You could play for free. But, when I looked it up, that game it was designed just to eat your quarters. Like, it was designed to make money. And it was like the most successful quarter eater that they call them they had ever made. There was no end to the game. It just kept going and going and going as long as you fed it quarters. And it got harder and harder. And the people who designed it were like, they couldn't believe how much money people were dumping into this game, and everybody wanted one in their arcade because they made so much loot. It was like Dragon's Lair. I can remember going to play Dragon's Lair, and just to learn the moves, I would watch other people, and then I would put the money in, and I would have to have $4 or $5 lined up just to be able to get through 4 or 5 new screenshots that I'd never mastered before, and just monopolizing this game for like an hour and a half, or until my parents came to get me because we were leaving the mall. But eventually, and Jeff can contest to this, like Street Fighter and those games, I got so good, I could put 1 quarter in, and people would come up, and if they put a quarter in, they'd challenge you, and I'd be there all day on 25 cents.
It was
I
so
wasted
annoying.
people.
It was
oh god, you were so good at that game.
because he always played Ken
Or Ryu.
or Ryu
Ryu.
because
Yeah.
their moves were the same and they were super like basic, and I always wanted to be one of those cool like characters, the one with the
Chun-Li.
long arms, or the
Oh, yeah.
Chun-Li, or the beast
Goro.
that was flipping around.
The Brazilian.
Yeah,
Blanca.
but
I loved Blanca.
not like even as cool as those characters looked with their powers and abilities, he just destroyed me every
Well,
time.
I was fast with that game. I knew all the moves, so like I could grab someone who was just going to do one of their special moves real quick,
Yeah.
But-
It was
Oh
great.
yeah,
That's funny.
I learned the hard way
It's
though. I
annoying.
spent a lot of time watching those guys, and we didn't have books or the internet didn't tell you the moves back then.
Yeah, that's true.
You had to learn that stuff as you went. Or you had to learn it from someone who was playing it that knew it, because you couldn't just look up a cheat code or look up how to do a specific move. You had to learn the hard way.
Boyd's
Yeah, I don't
message
even-
to the new generation.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know that there were cheat code books when we were playing.
No,
They might have had them at Barnes and Noble for like a couple of the top games, like what plays. But
I
don't.
first remembered it for NBA Jam.
oh,
so-
you're heating up.
Because I
Yeah,
remember,
the flaming fire.
you actually could look it up because they did exist. You had
Oh,
to
yeah.
find out the hard way. But I remember Jim, speaking of Jim, he did that for NBA Jam. And we're like, how are you doing that? Like, he's instantly
Yeah.
on fire.
Yeah.
Like, come on, how are you doing that? And he knew, like, the buttons
Yeah.
to hit, and he would
Yeah.
not tell any of us.
Well, it's like Galaga had that. Galaga, I forget what it is. If you move to the extreme left or right and you don't shoot, and you wait a certain amount of time for the things that are falling to shoot, then they don't shoot ever again in the game. And it's a cheat code that was built into Galaga that I never knew.
Huh.
And you could
It's
do that
probably
from
like
the very get.
It was probably like a tester code. They put it in so that while they were testing the levels, they didn't have to restart.
Yeah,
And
I
then
don't
they
know.
never took it out. That's funny.
Yeah,
Nice.
I know. Yeah, look it up. You can still, to this day, if you play Galaga, if you do that, what they say, then the things never shoot again, so that you don't have to dodge bullets.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, we do have to keep moving on.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, Boyd.
Sure.
This is crazy how much stuff that Jeff and I both completely blanked on. So we'll definitely be talking again.
Yes, we'll be tapping into your mind again, Boyd.
That sounds good, guys.
Thanks for being an
Use
OG
your
with
mind, Quaid.
us. Yes, open your mind.
All right, we're gonna jump on. Thanks, Boyd.
All right, thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
The fandom is divided. It's time for Geek Court.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I got the real sound this time.
I am
So-
ready.
So we're talking about stuff that we used to love but doesn't exist anymore because of what, Jeff? Console gaming. Console gaming.
It's true.
Did consoles and their the one thing that was great about the arcades was we could always go. Didn't matter where they were. You had depending on which game was in which arcade, but it was for everybody. And the consoles showed up. And then you can only play a game if you have that console. Like Mario, and everybody could go up and play Donkey Kong. For those of you who don't know, that's where Mario came from. But as soon as they put out their own console, Mario was too good for everybody. Mario just had to be with his own people. What do you think? It kind of annoyed me that you couldn't get other places.
I have to say that those console exclusives, they actually saved gaming. They because I think we would have been frozen in time. There wouldn't have been a reason for Atari to get better if everyone had to make content that was for that Atari system. It's because Nintendo created their own system, and then Sega, and then Microsoft, because they were trying to push boundaries and made things innovative, because the because they needed to, like, if you created a game for, and I know I'm using a more modern example, but the Wii, like the Wii was so innovative with the way the controller moved, like that you move your arm and it's like you're moving your sword, or you're punching and you're actually moving your arms and punching, and like you couldn't do that with any other controller, with any other product. And if anyone wanted to make that, they had to innovate. They had to create their own console. So I actually think that having exclusive content pushed innovation, and it was worth the expense that you had to buy. I mean, the only reason I even own an Xbox is because I wanted to play the Harry Potter game. So I know it's going kind of to your point, but hey, I wanted to play it, so I bought an Xbox.
But you're making my point, which I kind of love.
I made it.
Because, listen, I love the Harry Potter game too, but I have at home, I'm like a multi-layered geek because I'm an IT geek. I built my own computer a few years ago. A while ago now, I just upgraded it 2 years ago. I have a beast of a machine I've put a lot of time and effort and money into. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to play the Harry Potter game on that computer. Now, it eventually came out on Steam, but it was a while. It took time because it was exclusive to the Xbox. And of course, they did that on purpose, branded content, but they did it so people had to go buy a console if they wanted to play this game. And I just, out of sheer stubbornness and going, hell no, I never bought the Xbox. I'm sure it's wonderful. I've seen the Xbox. It's great. But I hate that I had to buy an Xbox, play Harry Potter. But I mean, even further back into like the Mario games, you had to buy a Nintendo. There's no Mario games on... Heck, I don't even know if Nintendo puts anything on Steam these days. You have to have a Switch. You have to have one. And, just like every other company, they keep changing the hardware that works with their software. So you have to buy something new. I understand it as a IT techno geek. I get that. And I don't disagree with the innovation part because, I mean, There was, what was the one with the boxing gloves? Those were horrible. But like I had a Wii too, and it was fun to be more interactive. But I hate the idea that I had to go buy something new. That's too bad. You had to buy a different console to play the game I want to play.
Look at you. Come on. We've talked on this podcast before that you got to pay with your dollars. And if you want innovation, it's going to cost you. And it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars for an entirely different system. And that is worth the price for innovation. Otherwise, you'd still be playing Pong. That's right. That's all you'd have today. There'd be no innovation, zero, without exclusive content for each of these consoles.
Oh, damn you. Well, I don't like to admit defeat, but that's a really solid point. But I still stand by it's annoying to have to buy four So especially at my age with kids in the family and all the work that we're doing, I don't have time. So it's hard. Like I told you, I bought the headset, MetaQuest 2. I think the only game I've ever played with any frequency is Beat Saber because it's easy. I can get in. Although I did play the Star Wars game, the Darth Vader games. Those were pretty cool. But I need something that I can get in. I don't have a lot of time. So I can't be spending money on an Xbox and a Sega and a, PlayStation 12, 13, 14, whatever the hell they're at now. It's got to be that. But why don't you guys write in and tell us what you think? Which one? Do you think it was better to have an exclusive, or do you think it's better to have it be free for all?
And as long as we're talking about a lack of innovation, sometimes it's good to, go back and dig up a basement treasure before something changed and something evolved. So let's dig up a basement treasure now.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Dust it off and geek it out, because it's a basement treasure.
They're digging in the wrong place.
Love that.
For the record, my favorite of the sound drops so far.
Absolutely. So what do you want to dig up?
So it's somewhere in the middle. It's a console, but it's an early console. And it's the ColecoVision. ColecoVision was, I don't even know if it was even popular for very long, but it was, at the time, it was cutting edge. Like Pong was the game that everybody was doing. That was pretty much those Pong style games were the ones that people had. But this was cartridge based, or at least selector based. You could change the games that you were playing. I think the Pong game we had just had a little dial, like a little slider. You could play this one, and it had 5 or 6 games pre-built. This one was a cartridge style game. And my cousins had this. My cousins Paul and Rich and Jen had it. And, well, probably more Paul and Rich. I don't think Jen was playing the video game. She's a little younger. But they had a Dungeons and Dragons game on ColecoVision. And so it was the first time for me that I saw this combination of D&D and video games. It was super basic. But I was like, and you had you'd go find, it was like stick figures. And they had it's almost like Minecraft, even less digital than Minecraft is. Like what Minecraft is, the retro, it's retro. It's better looking, of course, but it's that throwback to the stick figure swords. That was from the original ColecoVision game. So I wish I could find one that didn't cost $1 billion, but they're like a I don't know, a collector's item now.
Yeah, ColecoVision. I agree. That was quite a treasure. I loved ColecoVision. Also short-lived. I think it was a relatively short-lived console, but that was kind of to my point, innovation, because it had that giant. It had this giant controller that had a number pad on it. Think of those of you who. Yeah, we know what a giant digital phone would look like. So it had a 1 through 9. So it had, and instead of the joystick, it had like this disc. It was still a joystick, but it wasn't the big long joystick. Yeah, but you could like turn it. It had side buttons. It was like a really innovative controller, and it had a lot more functionality because it had 9 additional or whatever, how many additional buttons over an Atari button. Actually, had over 10 more buttons. So there was a lot more you could do with it.
It had side buttons too, didn't it?
Yeah, it had side buttons and then a dial pad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it
was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. So for me, the basement treasure, I think it's funny because we already talked about it, which was Cyberball as I was thinking it would be a great basement treasure because I loved that. Yeah, and what made that even more innovative over Gauntlet for being 4 players is that it had 2 screens. So like you were teammates with someone because you could have 4 players on 2 separate screens and you couldn't see what the other team was doing. So
forgot about that.
Yeah, so I loved that. And of course making the plea to bring back Cyberball. But there was another basement treasure that I thought I wanted to bring up, but of course I've read it before. But I'm gonna bring it back up. It's the Lords of Conquest. Which was this Risk style console game. And actually, I don't remember what console we were playing that on. We played it on.
It wasn't
giant TV. Oh, is it PC?
It was a Commodore 64 game.
Oh, Commodore 64.
It was a floppy disk game. Yeah,
that's right, Commodore 64. But we still attached it to your TV screen, so it kind of seemed like we were playing a console game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that game. It's like a Risk style game, and I think, that kind of strategy game, definitely my preference. I'm more onto that because you talked about Dragon's Lair. I love the look of it. I sucked at that game. I was so bad at that game. Like, and it made me like see things from the point of view, like every now and again when I judge like the younger generation for watching YouTube videos of just someone playing a video game. Don't you want to play the video game? For Dragon's Lair, I'd want to watch someone else play it because I was not good at it. Like, there's the only way I was going to know how the story was going to end is if someone else played it because I was not getting very far.
I will admit I got pretty far, but I don't think I ever completed that game. It was not easy. It was frustrating, but I loved it.
So I'll watch someone else do that. Absolutely.
Well, things change, Jeff. And they have to go from what they were to what they're going to be. So I think they have to evolve.
From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution. From floppy disks to streaming clicks, it's Geek Evolution.
Yes. And I think we've kind of hit on a bit of that evolution when it comes to the joystick, right? And because we were talking about it before the podcast, or we exchanged this idea that I totally forgot how painful eventually playing an Atari joystick game was.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and specifically the evolution of the controller, right? Because we talked about it with Pong. It was literally like it was like if you're holding a mouse, I can't even think of like it's just a spinner. That's all it did. All you could do was back and forth, left and right. And every game was zip, 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 and bong. And, the Brick Breaker. I remember as a kid, probably as a late teenager, I got probably one of the first handheld versions, but it was basically just Pong in your hand.
Yep.
But it was all spinner. And then the button came out with ColecoVision. They were super advanced, but Atari had the one button.
Yes.
Nintendo got crazy and put 2 buttons, and then eventually they had like 75 buttons on their controllers. But now
that Nintendo controller, that was the game changer.
Yeah.
Because even to today, that was the first the first time, because the controllers, like the ColecoVision controller, was enormous. It was not comfortable. It was innovative, but not comfortable. It was like playing with a giant phone in your hand.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for anyone to imagine today.
Actually,
what
think about a
opposed to
really
phones.
big calculator.
Yes,
That's
gigantic.
what it was. Just a huge
Gigantic.
flat. It was, well, I have a pretty good sized phone. This is the Samsung.
Yeah, just throw
I'll throw a
flat joystick on the top, and you're
That's about the size of what it was, and you just did this. Doot, 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 doot. For those of you who are
and then
actually
Nintendo
watching.
did away with the joystick entirely. It was just a pad, and then instead of our wrists hurting from the joystick, we got calluses on our thumbs
Yes.
from moving that.
But then they eventually created that U shape, or almost M shaped pad that
Yeah,
had 2 buttons on for each hand in the front. You had 4 buttons for each thumb, 2 joysticks. Like there was a point in time, especially I had an accident with one of my hands. I just gave up. I couldn't do it. It was too many options for buttons, and you play against a kid or somebody else who would be like, and it would be done. You're like, I didn't get to play.
I know. And usually Nintendo was the one pushing that innovation, talking about innovation. But then when I think it was PlayStation, though, that created what you're talking about, which is like the 2 handles. So then it beat like,
Did PlayStation start that?
yeah, it's 2 handles, and they added, they threw in, and Nintendo. So yeah, so they had like the handled one, and then Nintendo answered back with innovation of adding like a third
Yeah.
like thing to hold on to, and put in an analog controller.
See, damn you, this is why your Geek court case wins. Because this is why this shit exists.
Yeah, because then like they each had to keep up in the ante. And I think it was, I think the shock one, the first one that had like you're playing and it actually vibrated.
I think
controller.
That was PlayStation.
So yeah, so like whoever created that, like that was huge when that first vibrating something shock. It was actually the controller actually had shock in the name, I think. And then so like you're interacting with it in a new way. And you talk about virtual reality, that having that kind of tactile feel that actually helped create a certain reality when you're playing with that game, because you get that feedback. And then Nintendo had to up their ante with their Wii controller, which was motion controlling. So you're really punching, or you're really swinging a sword, and I know people got so into it that they actually destroyed their TVs.
Well, they didn't put the wrist thing on, and they would throw it across the room.
Like, I really got to throw this thing.
Well, and now it even goes a step further, Jeff, because I don't know how much you've used the VR helmet, but the new, again, I have the MetaQuest 2. It's probably a generation or 2 old, but you don't even need a controller. Like, it comes with 2 controllers, and it's easier because there's buttons, just like everything else. Like, it's just a different form factor. You just hold them. And so if you're playing a gun game, there's actually a trigger, and then there's thumb controls. But you don't need that for some games. You can just use your hands. You just show the screen your hands. It maps your fingers, and you do everything with pinch and zoom. Like, you can make pictures bigger just literally by moving your hands. So we went from a horrible controller that was basically just your hand through 972 buttons to a controller that is just your hands. We've basically evolved all the way back to just using our hands.
Exactly. That's awesome. All right. So I feel like it's time to offer a message to the new generation, or a rant. It's our choice.
Your kids don't know how good you've got it.
Officially my second favorite sound rep, because he sounds like he might die at the end.
It's so true. It's so true.
Do you want to start this one, or do you want me to run?
I'm really the message to the new generation, I think, is more, we normally, are like, oh, delivering to the younger generation, but really I want to also deliver this. Actually, I really want to deliver one to Gen X, which is probably most of our listeners anyway. So that, I don't know about you, but I always thought it was ridiculous that younger generations watching people play video games. Like, I was just, when we talked about being in the arcade and you're quarter number 7, you got to watch 6 people play this game before you get to play. But then you do get to play.
Yes.
So what I don't understand is watching someone play a video game and then not playing. Because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, at some point you want to play the game. And, but the message to Gen X is get over it. We got to get over it, because really that could be as interesting as, like, for us watching football or baseball or any other sport. They're just watching this in a kind of competitive, entertaining way, and like the person who's narrating their play is engaging. So it's hard, because we're thinking, playing a video game, watching someone play a video game, why wouldn't you want to play it? But so for me, it's a message as much for me like, hey, that's their entertainment. Let it go.
Oh, goodness. I have young girls, because the first thing I thought of was a Disney movie when you said let it go. I think the other side of that I want to jump in on a little bit is there's a whole new generation of sports called esports. And I think this is why, as Gen X, we have a problem. And I think you're right. I'm on both sides of this. Again, I'm a techno geek. I love gaming. I love computers. I love all that stuff, work in IT. So when somebody creates something new that involves technology and something that I enjoy, like video gaming, it's like, oh, okay, which, those kind of have to go hand in hand. I love it. But I remember the first time I heard the term esports, I laughed. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? But it is viable. So don't go out, expand what you're looking at, and watch some of these folks. Because Jeff, like you said it before, and the reason why I watch the Patriots play football instead of play football is I'm not good. I loved playing football when I was in high school and in college. I never played in college, but when I was college age, just with friends playing football. But I was never good enough to play on a team. But it doesn't mean I shouldn't watch the game. Still go play games, but it's okay to hang out and watch a game here and there. But don't forget the playing part. Find the games you love and play them. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So, yeah, I think that's where we're at. But I think as we wrap up all of our episodes, we get to talk about some stuff that went phenomenal and some stuff that didn't go so well. And I think this time we are doing, we're going to do this a little different. We don't know what each other's going to say. So it'll be a little more interesting. But here we go.
It's critical hits and epic fails. It's critical hits and epic fails.
Nice. All right. So I'm going to do a critical hit. Steve's going to do an epic fail. So the critical hit that I want to bring up in this area, in this video games, is the Wii. I feel like video games are going, we're talking about evolution, like it was just getting more realistic. The graphics were getting better. And then the Wii came out, and it, like, the graphics were like took a step back a decade. Like there wasn't about looking, amazing, like you're just drawn in. It looked like you're playing a movie. It didn't look like that. It looked like more like a classic video game. The Wii avatars that you got to design, your Mii, with it very cartoony, not exactly, reality.
Yeah.
But I think it may still be the best-selling console of all time. At least it's one of the best of all time, and that's against a lot of heavy hitter consoles. But it was this very simplistic comparatively simplistic compared to like the Xbox or PlayStation or other things that were going on. And what was amazing is it also was it brought generations together in the living room playing together.
Yeah.
Grandma could play, little kids could play. It really was an amazing console for bringing in generations together, playing video games together as a family, and with a lot of different family friendly content from sports to the Mario games, but those have been out long enough to be like cross generational as well. So
Right.
so for me, I think the big hit was the Wii, because it got it so that the video games weren't just for the nerds, because they were like as Steve pointed out, like the consoles were getting really complicated. Like the controllers, I mean, like having all these buttons and it's really complicated. The Wii couldn't have been simpler. It was just, and just games can work and be simple. And that's what I want to call out for this critical hit. I felt like that was amazing. I don't have the latest Switch. Do you have the latest Nintendo Switch?
I don't think it's the latest one. We do have a Switch.
Yeah. So I mean, it kind of, they've kind of kept that kind of spirit going, right? With this. So that's my critical hit. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I agree. They were the first. I'm going to say this, and people are going to tell me I'm wrong. I think they were the first socialized in, like you said, in the home gaming, right? Because they didn't try to go for hellaciously fast processing of graphics. If they didn't worry about the realistic views, they put all of their power into socialization, to getting people on their feet, and to the motion control. What they, and I agree, I don't think it was the sacrifice, but what they may have sacrificed in visuals, they made up for more than, you and I used to play the Nintendo Wii Golf all the time, because you actually got to swing the thing, and tennis and pong. Like it was fun because you were up and around, but you were still playing a video game. You didn't have to run track first before you got on the field. You could just goof around and have a good time. So I like that. That's a great one. I think my fail is also might be a little controversial, but it goes back to this idea of having to continuously pay for the same game I've already purchased. And that's in the form of downloadable content, DLCs. Like, I play a lot of games on Steam. We both do. And some of them, they will give you downloads for free, but some of them, they make you pay for every little add-on. Or like, I play Call of Duty, not as much as I used to. And sometimes I'll play PUBG, which is another great game. But those games, like, you have to buy the add-ons for your gun. If you want to have this piece of equipment, you want that piece of armor, like, you have to spend money, even though it costs you like $65-$80 to buy the game to begin with. They continuously are looking to bleed you for money, and I hate it. I think it's a huge fail in the gaming industry. I know it's not a monetary fail. Trust me, I know they're making millions. That's why they're doing it. But personally, I'm like, God, it's just frustrating. Same reason I didn't want to buy a second console. Like, I'm someone who will play a game over again and play one. Like, we both love Civilization and games like that. Like, those are games I'll continuously play. I don't want to have to spend another $30 to find out, what happens when the Mayans show up or whatever the next DLC is going to be. Drives me crazy. That should have been my rant.
So DLC, yeah. I mean, I can see that, and I don't have that many games where that's a problem. But one that we definitely did was Talisman. Talisman was this board game, and someday let's talk about the board game again.
We talked a little bit.
Give it some more time. We talked about it a little bit, but give this some more time. But the video game version, notorious DLC. oh my God, just to play. Because some DLC I get, like there's it's substantial, but then some DLC is, we just made this one character DLC, $5, and it's obnoxious. And Talisman was getting so bad with it, I think they were getting ripped a bit in their reviews, is that so they made a season pass where they knew they were going to come out with a bunch of DLC, and you could just buy it pay up front. Okay, and they called it a season pass, and all the DLC that was coming out would be included in it. You'd prepaid for it before you even got it, so I can see this is still.
I'll be honest,
the best experience, but
still not a fan. But better a season pass for say $20 or $25 than charge me $3 every 2 weeks. Because every time I pay an extra, even if it's a little amount, it'll annoy the living shit out of me. And I will more likely not play a game in spite, because God damn it, I am not spending any more money on this game. I just can't do it, as much as we like that one specifically.
Well, and I did this with Civilization 7. There was DLC content you could prepay for, and I just did it because I didn't want to. I knew I was going to want it. I knew I was going to want the DLC content. I was going to want it. So I just prepaid, so I get a little bit of a discount. But yeah, it is funny. Like right they're releasing it. They're releasing the game, and they had 2 DLCs coming up in the first 6 months.
Yeah, which by the way, had to be already complete. It's like when they finish an episode of TV, a season of TV, and they go next season, and you see that's done. They're just waiting to release it because they don't want to put all their content in one barrel. So these guys have a DLC. They could have added it to the game. They could have just made it part of the base game. And nah, we're going to make you wait. And by the way, we're going to make you pay more.
I think our podcast needs some DLC.
Well, it certainly needs some TLC. But don't go chasing waterfalls. That's all I'm saying.
Nice.
So, all right. Well, I think that's been another great episode.
I agree.
I think we have a lot of content out there. If you've been with us this long, thanks for hanging around. Don't forget originalgeekpodcast@gmail.com. Send us in those questions so that we can have an Ask an OG. We will answer what you got, but that's basically our pitch. Send us a note, send us what you like. If you want something we want to talk about. We actually had somebody write in, and I apologize. I don't have I didn't get a real name, but I got a note online from somebody who really wants us to talk about John Hughes films, 16 Candles, those kind of things.
Nice.
I think that's a great idea.
Yes.
I thought I had told you that. I apologize if I didn't, but yeah,
that's great.
So we have a little
great topic,
a little interactivity too. So, originalgeekpodcast.com has all our links, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And we just put merch live. So show off your geekiness and have some fun.
Download that content.
Down it. Not down it. Don't download. Just download it. Otherwise, I guess.
And spread the word. Just tell even one person about this podcast. No, that's how great art, people get to be aware of it, because word of mouth counts a lot.
Jeff, you know how the old commercial went. You have to tell 2 people, and then they'll tell 2 people, and then they'll tell 2 people.
Yes.
And then we'll have told 16 people.
We've got the world. Nice.
All right. Check me out, stevescarfo.com, Steve Scarfo, on all the social medias. I'll be on stages around the region. Come out and find me.